And I think, Mr. Provost, this is up to your agenda 10I. We moved it up to the President's office on this overall
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. This is underneath the Finance Committee agenda, and it's item number I, resolution of Gloucester Tribal Council adopting Oyate Ominciye Lakota Regional Plan as the official sustainable development plan of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. I'll have Rhonda read the resolution from the record.
Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, an unincorporated tribe. Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council adopting Oyate Ominciye Oglala Lakota Regional Plan for Sustainable Development as the official regional sustainable development plan of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe organized in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934 on December 14, 1935 by adopting a federally approved constitution and bylaws. And whereas the tribal constitution establishes the tribal council as the governing body of the tribe, and in Article 4, Section 1, vests the tribal council with various authorities necessary to carry out its role of governing body. And whereas the Oyate Ominciye Oglala Lakota Regional Plan for Sustainable Development was created through a process funded through the HUD Office of Sustainable Housing and Communities, and was intended to help the local region, defined as those portions of Shannon, Jackson, and Bennett counties within the boundaries of the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, create a regional plan for sustainable development. And whereas the Oyate Ominciye Oglala Lakota Regional Plan was developed by looking at many ways to improve our local regions, such as ways to streamline land acquisition issues, increase access to affordable housing and home ownership, coordination of transportation and economic development initiatives, creation of jobs and training opportunities, ways to develop access to renewable energy, ways to spark Lakota language preservation, addressing environmental challenges, increasing cultural awareness and educational efforts amongst our youth, promoting green building technology, addressing healthcare concerns, and many more. And whereas the tribe and our way of life, Lakota, encourage environmentally sound and sustainable practices within tribal boundaries and beyond. And whereas the Oyate Ominciye Oglala Lakota Regional Plan was developed by encouraging the maximum amount of participation from as many communities, individuals, organizations, and agencies as possible in the planning process. And whereas the Tribal Council realizes the benefits to be gained by all of the people of the region, the fruits of the planning process conducted, Oyate Ominciye Oglala Lakota Regional Plan is formally adopted as a guiding instrument for sustainable development on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and has reviewed that plan. And whereas the plan incorporates the following 6 principles of livability that guide the Oyate Ominciye Oglala Lakota Regional Plan and the Tribal Council, and the continued pursuit of which will greatly benefit the Oyate. Number 1, provide more transportation choices. Number 2, promote equitable, affordable housing. Number 3, enhance economic competitiveness. Number 4, support existing communities. Number 5, coordinate policies and leverage investment. And number 6, value communities and neighborhoods. And whereas the plan offers priorities, suggestions, and ideas for sustainable improvement within a 12-initiative practical framework for moving forward as generated by the Oglala Oyate, and an implementation workbook to help further categorize policies, programs, and projects resulting from activities that support the Oyate Ominciye Oglala Lakota Regional Plan, and is worthy of adoption by the tribe. Now therefore be it resolved that the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe does hereby adopt the Ominciye Oglala Lakota Regional Plan for Sustainable Development as the official regional sustainable development plan for the Oglala Sioux Tribe hereafter. And be it further resolved that the Tribal Council hereby encourages all tribal and other governmental agencies within the original boundaries of the Pine Ridge Reservation, as well as all other citizens, entities, and organizations, to consult with the Oyate Ominciye Oglala Lakota Regional Plan in considering their activities in order to help create a better world for our future generations.
Mr. Provost,
Motion to approve.
recognize your motion. Mr. Weston's will second it. I've got one thing to say to the young gentleman. I have a big concern about organizations getting state charters. I will promote with this tribal council that they consider doing tribal charters so that you can get your 501c3 status. But I would ask you that when this tribal council decides to take the charters, that you give up the state charter and go with a tribal charter. It's a very big concern of mine across this reservation. It creates complications for us in dealing with the physical property once a state charter goes out of business and the state comes in and claims the jurisdiction. Thank you, sir. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President and Council. I want to address that particular issue. We actually studied the UCC code, and we found the way that Thunder Valley, because at the time that Thunder Valley was created, the UCC code hadn't been created yet, and there wasn't a mechanism for us to file as a 501c3 under the tribe because the code didn't exist yet. The good news is now that the UCC exists, we began the process. We got the paperwork from Mr. Palmer, and we've actually filled it all out, presented it to the board, and at the year-end meeting of Thunder Valley's board meeting at the end of December, we're going to basically pull our state charter and go with our state articles of incorporation and be incorporated in the tribe. So I wanted the council to know that we addressed that. Again, the whole history was that the infrastructure didn't exist until now to do that. And so I just wanted the council to know a little bit more about that.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Tuttle?
Thank you. I know that this corporation exists in my district, CDC, and I really support what their strategy is. But I agree with President Steele regarding making sure it comes under the tribe. That way, our district too can have input from Porcupine. I think that I would like to. Propose to the council. I don't know how much longer you can wait until that's done. Then I could vote on it. Right now, I don't have an assurance. I think that what President Steele said is very valid. I don't want to have to be dealing with, we have that issue with our Porcupine Oblaya store right now, just sitting there. And it's got a CPC attachment to it, and we really can't touch it from the district because we've got to give the money in order for them to go forward, but the status of it right now, it's inoperable right now. So I guess as a district representative, I really would like to look at them as resources, but how do we keep them viable, with some involvement from the tribe. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I think there's two issues. The issue of Thunder Valley being a nonprofit corporation is not a decision that's coming before council today. The Oyate Ominciye planning project, in which Thunder Valley was a partner of over 22 different organizations, helped create this plan, including the Office of Economic Development, Environmental Protection, Natural Resources, the Land Office, the Lakota Fund, the Chamber of Commerce, and several other organizations. So what we're presenting here today is a regional plan, regional goals for the whole area of Pine Ridge. They're not unfunded mandates. They're goals and recommendations for the region, because all regional plans include recommendations, and that's what this plan represents. I know that the focus is on Thunder Valley because we're the lead administrator of the consortium. But that's not really the issue that we're discussing here today. We're not asking the council to ask or to act on something specific that Thunder Valley is doing with the development we're trying to do out there. This is trying to set regional goals, and that's what Oyate Ominciye regional overall plan is all about. I definitely hear everybody's concerns about nonprofits, and we have definitely done the due diligence to create and incorporate ourselves into the tribe, and we actually have the paperwork mostly all filled out, but we just have to take it before the board and do it again. That infrastructure didn't exist. And I think the other thing to know in the midst of that is that this organization is grassroots community organization, 100% comprised of Oglala Lakota tribal members.
Mr. Telson, I think you have to understand our concern on having a state charter. Are you bringing state law into here? Do you have to abide by state law instead of tribal law? Still for the basic sovereignty that we're concerned about. We need you to understand that, sir. We're not saying anything about your goals and your objectives or anything like that. It's a big concern of ours when an entity deals in property, as Ms. Tell just stated, on the Maya store itself, under a state CDC chartered outfit, and now that it went down, they can't address it from their district, which belongs to the district. And I think some other districts sitting around here have the same problem. It doesn't look like you're going down, but you got property also. And so that's a concern here that you need to accept and understand where council's coming from also. You're trying to explain where you're coming from, but you got to understand where council's coming from, their concern on sovereignty and bringing the state in here. And so that's just a concern of council that we wanted you to understand.
Absolutely. And I think I've responded to what we're doing, to do that. We've been working with Paul Palmer to come up with the documents of how you actually incorporate, not become a charter, because being a charter and filing the articles of incorporation is two different things. You're actually a chartered organization. It's a separate thing than if you were an entity filing the articles of incorporation to the tribe or to the state. In this case, the tribe.
Possibly sign a consent to jurisdiction from your organization to the tribe.
Yeah, and we have no problem doing that. We have no problem doing that. I mean, like I said, the infrastructure didn't exist when our organization started, but it exists now, and we're fully prepared to do that, and have prepared all the paperwork and everything.
Thank you. Ms. West.
Thank you, President Still. I guess I was just kind of going through the booklet, and on page 29, it just kind of gave a chart of, I guess, the organizational structure of how they're seeing this regional plan that they're proposing to the tribe. And I guess it has in there various entities that we want to work with. But my question to them is, you talk about housing. And I guess my question is, did you already meet with Mr. Ironclaw and the housing people and let them know that you're proposing housing needs as part of your regional plan? I mean, have you talked with them about some of these things? Because I noticed you haven't.
Yes, Mr. Ironclaw, also the Housing Authority, is a member of the consortium. Have participated in the whole regional planning process, and also through this process we've also been finding a way to create a housing needs assessment. So we brought many partners together with a request that Mr. Ironclaw said about creating a housing needs assessment. So the Housing Authority has been involved in the process every step of the way.
Thank you.
So I guess my second question is then that what you're proposing is just, I guess, a regional plan which consists of all these things you're talking about within the Oglala tribe that you want to work on. So you want to just work with all these entities. And I guess I'm just trying to stay separate from the state piece of it, because I think that what I'm kind of looking at and reading is something that I would think that would be good for the tribe, as a whole, to help them or help us to build on this. And I think we've talked about economic business development pieces within this tribal council, we've talked about it, I've heard it through campaign speeches, but, you know, actually having something in black and white to actually say this is what we're gonna do. And working with each of the 9 districts, I'm assuming you're gonna do that, to kind of do some of this work that you're doing. But I guess I'm kind of concerned too is about the state piece of it. Just because we ran into the issue with Chihuahua, you know, and they were a state charter, had state bylaws, they had everything that was under the state. And so now we're kind of stuck in court with some of those things, you know, attached to that charter. So I'm really concerned about that piece. And I think that, I guess that's some of the things that I think, you know, is understandable why, I guess I'm hoping you're understanding that piece from the tribal council on how, you know, I have no problem with the rest of it. If you're doing some of this stuff and you're proposing it, then I don't have a problem with that, but I'm just kind of worried about that state. Because it's not like you're gonna go back and take that part back, but at a later date. And right now, it's not even, you know, because it's kind of like we're putting the cart before the horse, kind of proving this for you, and then you're gonna go back later on and take the state charter. You're proposing that to the board, so that's not hearing. Your tribal charter. Okay.
Thank you. I got a motion and a second on the floor. Mr. Provost.
Thank you, Chairman. You know, in regards to some of the, therefore be it resolved, we could ask for him, in addition to this, that he must get tribally chartered and put that within this action, if council is agreeable to that.
I take his word that they're working towards it and would get it, that they're going to get their license through the tribal revenue office.
But that way, I believe would have more assurances with the council to do this activity.
Propose it, Mr. Provost.
So I amend the second, therefore be resolved to put an amendment in there that he will obtain, our Oyate Ominciye will obtain a tribal charter. Because what you're saying is I totally agree with you. I totally agree with the council here, Nick, because we have run into problems with non-profits and even tribal charters getting 501c3 and going into a non-profit entity, and then we're starting mixing apples and oranges with funding.
Well, I don't like mixing the state with the tribe. This is all.
And that's what we've done in the past, Chairman. You know that with Chunglation and other issues on this reservation with non-profits that were chartered to begin with.
Yes, sir.
So I would highly recommend this amendment be put in. I'll just need a second to put that in there already.
Mr. Tilton.
I want to adjust that.
Mr. Tilton.
I made the motion to approve. Did you accept that? Scott? Okay.
I'll accept your amendments. Motion by Grant, second. Mr. Tilton.
Okay, well, the only thing I wanted to address is Oyate Ominciye isn't an organization. Oyate Ominciye is a consortium. It's not an organization that has ever been incorporated yet. What we're proposing by this plan is that Oyate Ominciye, all the work that has been done in the last 24 months, create a regional tribal planning entity that will be a tribal entity to coordinate decision-making and sustainable development within the boundaries of Pine Ridge.
You are not tribal now, but that's all our concern is our sovereignty.
Well, I just want to make the clarification so the council knows that Oyate Ominciye is a planning process. Thunder Valley Community Development Corporation is a corporation that helped administer this process to make it happen.
You've got a development plan that is a tribal development plan, and everybody would follow it, and it is sort of influencing the whole tribe. We would like you to be tribal, sir, that's all. We don't want your organization to bring state jurisdiction in there.
So
That's all our concern is, sir.
So to that end, say that if the regional planning entity gets created, that it be a tribally chartered entity.
That would be good, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's fine.
We just want to bring state law in here.
I agree with that.
I got a motion second on the floor. With the amendment, yes. Secretary should call for a vote. I got one more concern. I am on some Great Plains area organizations and other organizations, and we always put in there that you will not compete with the tribe for any monies. And so I do need to ask you that, sir, that you will not compete with the tribe or an allocation from any federal entity, that you will, you can go after federal money, sir, but just please don't compete with the tribe.
Okay, I'll address this specific thing. When this plan came about, it came out of a grant in the Office of Sustainable Housing and Communities. A new program within HUD that was created.
We did not compete with the tribe, sir. You're taking it wrong again. I'm asking you in the future, just don't, give me your word that you will not compete with the tribe for an A&A grant that is one per reservation. You're not?
Well, we won't compete with the tribe, but that's not true that A&A grants are one per reservation. So we 9 times out of 10, majority of the time, federal government always create tribal partners. And that's the way that we work. It's the way that we've always worked with our opportunities. And even the sustainable communities grant opportunity, the same thing. We went directly to the housing authority and fully supported them.
You know best, sir, but let me tell you about the CDBG grant. Not only one per tribe can go around. Housing came to us and this tribal council approved this one grant per reservation to go to housing. So they operate the CDBG program. That's what I'm asking, just to word that you won't compete with the tribe. I did not ask you to.
Yeah, I think we have a definite commitment that we won't compete with the tribe.
Thank you.
President Steele.
Yes, ma'am.
We already have a resolution, I think, in place that answers that question you have. Because we had charters and we had other entities that came in front of committees and wanted their grants approved because they were applying for certain things. I think Ali remember that. So we said, no, it's going to be our tribe first, then our charters. Our brother Allison's going to. So our tribes were protected. They're the ones that can come through and apply for those grants first and programs. So
Thank you. I believe this word.
Yeah.
I have a motion second on the floor. Ms. Brown?
Just one quick question, and that is, since it's been 3 years, I would like to also include that the finances of all their finances be brought forth to the tribe, because we're utilizing the tribe again as an entity. So I wanted to see all their finances and what they really truly did. And I would like the Oglala Sioux tribe to see all of that. So I would like that included in this motion. Thank you.
Ask Mr. Provost and Mr. West.
Yes, that would be acceptable. I haven't been there.
Thank you.
Scott, do you agree?
Got a motion, get a second on the floor. They agree to the final. Secretaries. Mr. Kabele, President says you have your hand up. I didn't see it.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to comment on this plan, Mr. President. This is just the regional plan. The organization hasn't been put in place. As you can see there, the tribal council can be on there. There was consultation done in each community. There was the housing authority, public safety, every entity as part of the consortium, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, a lot of the federal agencies, tribal transportation, everybody was involved in this. And we asked the communities and say, what are the things that are important for you over the future generations? There was 12 or 13 different items. Everything that I heard discussed here today just is saying housing, transportation, all the basic needs. All this thing establishes is saying, here's a plan for the region that the tribe can look at, that the federal entities, that the people have basically said, yeah, these things are important to us, that was put in this plan. It's not trying to say state jurisdiction, anything like that. I think the last time that we actually had a plan on the table was during the Newton Cummings administration. There was a 5-year plan that was developed. You know, I think this goes a long ways in at least laying out some framework for the Oglala Sioux tribe to say, here's 12 or 13 things to put on the table. Now, all entities that are part of the consortium, all tribal entities, all federal entities can come to the table and say, okay, how do we address transportation? How do we address education? Working in consultation with the Oglala Sioux tribe, not as a separate CDC or anything like that. All this is just, they went back out, and what Nick was saying, it was kind of a grassroots effort that it was the people that said, here's the things that we're hearing from the communities. And that's all it was. It's not, you know, I think there's some confusion here between Thunder Valley Development Corporation and this plan. The plan is totally separate to Thunder Valley. This is just a regional plan of 12 or 13 things that people said, these are the things that we'd like all these entities to try to address over upcoming years. And that's all it says.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
But you can understand where we're coming from now. Mr. Akabay, you can understand what our concern is. Is that Thunder Valley might be bringing in state law from our court.
Two different issues.
Two different issues, yes, sir.
This is just the plan. It's not, has anything to do with Thunder Valley.
Okay, then ignore our concern, then.
It's run the vote, Chairman. It's run the vote.
I got a motion and a second on the floor. Secretary, call for your vote.
Bruce Brown?
Yes?
Ella Giancarlo? James Cross? Kathy Janice? No. Valerie Kilsmall Janice?
Yes.
Sonny Little Hawk Weston?
Yes.
Paul Little?
No.
Irving Provost?
Yes.
Robin Tapio?
No.
Beverly Tuttle?
Yes.
Austin Watkins? Troy Scott Weston?
Yes.
Kevin Gilbert Steele?
Yes.
Kevin Council got a vote, 10 yes, 3 no's. Motion does carry. Kevin Council, I need to ask you for one more item, and this pertains to the construction of the